What prompted you to join Second Life? And after joining, how did you find ISTE?
Well, I'm not sure that you know this, Kevin, but you're the reason I joined Second Life. I had heard about it in December of 2006, and I've always have my eye on the radar for what's coming next. But I had heard from my sources, which are my nephews and nieces, that it was way too fringe, and so I kind of put it aside until my tech director, Sarah, who's a Google certified teacher, told me that ISTE was in Second Life. So I was on that night to check it out, and once I got through Orientation Island, and for those of you that remember, I found my way to the search bar and was immediately taken to ISTE, where I was greeted by the first human I met in Second Life, Randall Hudson, who was a docent there, and I was so completely impressed that somebody was volunteering their time to meet me when I was still walking into walls that I immediately signed up to become a docent, even though I could barely get around.
Well, that's a great story, and now that you mention it, I do recall that me meeting Sarah was the impetus for you to get an ISTE. That's pretty neat that ISTE is what brought you into SL, and then you became so smitten with it that you immediately became involved with the very volunteer work that you're doing now. So over the time as you volunteer at ISTE, you've led a variety of projects, including a number of machinima-focused programs and events as well. Tell us a little bit about that and how your work has impacted your professional and creative work in the classroom.
Yes, I'd love to, and I'd like to build on what Corinne was talking about earlier about building your confidence, because all of my work up to date had been in my classroom, and I really hadn't had the opportunity to work much beyond that. And actually my first project was the name badges at ISTE, and I remember feeling so shy to suggest it to Kitty Gloom, but there's such a community of get out there and figure this all out together that I jumped in, and I was on a track before I knew it of project after project. My real passion is multimedia, and a natural progression in being in Second Life was to learn about machinima. And Kitty Gloom and you and other docents, knowing that I was interested, involved me in early classes on for teachers to learn how to make machinima. So we were all in this together, and I learned that this environment has amazing potential to move beyond talking about 21st century learning and truly doing it, because when we talk about 21st century learning, collaboration, problem solving, communication, and doing that worldwide is something we always talk about, but we don't necessarily get an opportunity to do that often in our class. And I have a theory that by being able to do that ourselves as educators, we will better understand how to take that into our classrooms. So I believe you approached me first about doing a machinima for ISTE, which was a daunting task. Not that I hadn't made movies, but I was on a learning curve. And we just plugged in to the socials with Corinne, who wanted to run a class on how to make machinimas, and we all learned together. And people were producing their own stories about how their professional lives had changed with coming into Second Life, and it was a lot of fun, and it was a real eye-opener for me about the potential power of MUVEs in this environment.
Can you tell us about this picture we've got up on the screen, the docent wall?
Yes, we did. I do a lot with graphics. We decided we wanted to introduce our docents to everyone, so we created a wall so people can come in and know who the docents are, and if they have questions, know some people to direct them to.
Fabulous. And this one, I happen to know something about this myself.
Yes, also published my first article working with ISTE and Second Life, and it was a collaborative article that the teachers in New Jersey that were ISTE docents did together using a Google Doc for NJAET. And that was a lot of fun. It was my first time to use a Google Doc, and a really fun way to put our collective voices together and tell our larger community about our professional development and experience here in Second Life.
Right. In the picture, I just want to acknowledge Phil Santiago, as well as Zuza Thompson, and Claire Loon, who is, I believe, in the audience today, participated in that article that was also published. Okay, I think we have one more shot.
And this was the culmination of the Machinima month that Corinne put together, and I came and helped as we tried to figure this out. And the last night was really fun because we had a festival, and Kitty Gloom set out some cars, and we had a drive-in, and it was just really a lot of fun to be in World, watching the movies that we had made in World from teachers all over the world, actually.
Yeah, I remember that event was a huge success, and what a great analogy for watching movies. So I'll be sitting in, were those 57 Chevys you put out there for us?
That was Kitty Gloom. That was Kitty Gloom, and yeah, it was a lot of fun.
That was awesome. Okay, next question. What relationships have you formed that have been really valuable, or partnerships as far as professionally, as a result of your networking in SL?
Oh, Kevin, there's been so many. I think that's been the biggest impact that this environment has had for me, is that I have found my tribe. I've worked with a terrific group of people, but we've been doing things on our own, and suddenly the world's open to us, and we can find other people who are trying to figure out the same things in their classroom. The first speaker series, it wasn't the speaker series back then, it was a show and tell that I ever went to, was Peggy Sheehy talking about Ramapo Islands, and my computer was so old at the time I couldn't see any of the graphics. There was no voice, but I was following the chat, and my initial reaction to Second Life was two things: my own professional development, and I wanted to get my kids in. And so when I heard that she had a school in, I was on the phone the next morning and asking her if I could come up to visit her school and see what they were doing. And a friendship started immediately, and that has grown, and in our shared interest of education and what we want to do with kids. And was it last spring, Kevin? I think it was.
It was 2 years ago, actually.
It was 2 years ago?
It was 2 years ago, yeah.
Time flies.
Yep.
I had a wonderful opportunity when Bernadine Porter came into Second Life and wanted to work with kids, and you put Bernadine together with Peggy, and Bernadine volunteered to do a week of storytelling, and Peggy asked me to come up and teach Machinima, and I have to tell you, that was a huge treat for me, because Bernadine has been a mentor of mine for years, without her ever knowing me. I've just been following her work. I've been very impressed with it. So to be able to go up and work with her and Peggy and you for the week, we gave up a week of our vacation, and it was really worth it. I learned so much working with Bernadine and getting to work with the kids at Ramapo, and that really has formed a long-term relationship. That I worked with her kids on their island, and happily, recently, just our school purchased their own island, and we are adjacent to Ramapo, and Peggy and I continue to look for opportunities where our kids can collaborate. We work together on the movie No Future Left Behind, with both her kids doing most of the storytelling, and my kids helping out with the Machinima. And, again, going back to the 21st century skills, this is really what we're talking about creating for our kids.